Yesterday? A set of ordered pairs. Love it, you two. All right, a set of ordered pairs. Okay? And so we're going to talk a little more specifically now about the graphs and the pictures. Okay? Now, there's a little bit of new vocabulary we're going to pick up today. So it says the value of variable in relation that is subject to choice. Subject to choice. Okay? This is called independent. All right, so write this down. It's called independent. Okay, independent. Subject to choice. Okay. Now, it says AKA. This is also, guys, just going to be your X value or your domain. Okay, domain, X value. All right, so independent, X value, domain, it's all talking about the exact same thing. Okay? Independent. All right, and then on the next, yep. That second page, sweetie. Scroll. No. X value and domain. Okay? All right, and then on the next one, it says if a variable with a value that is dependent on the independent. Okay, I know that sounds kind of tricky. We're going to explain it here in a second. But on our next line here, we're going to put dependent. Dependent. It depends on something else, right? Okay? So like your parents are independent. Okay, they take care of themselves. They pay their bills. They have their house or their cars or whatever they may or may not have, right? But they are responsible for themselves. You guys, while responsible for yourselves and your choices, they still provide for you in some manner or another, all right? Whether it's food or a house or clothing or schooling or whatever, you still depend on them. It's the same concept of math. We have one thing that's independent. It stands by itself. It doesn't need anything else to do what it's going to do. And then we have this other guy that's dependent that is attached to the independent. So whatever this guy chooses to do, that's what the dependent guy has to do. Okay? All right. So dependent. So if independent is your X value, what do you think dependent's going to be? Your Y value. Okay? And what's the other name for a Y value?
Range.
Very good. So Y value or your range. Okay. All right. So we've got two graphs here. Okay. They give you a little bit of information about the graph. Okay. But what I want you to focus on is once you read that, I want you to focus here on the description. Okay. Because that's one of the things we're going to do is we're going to write descriptions on a graph of what's happening in the picture based on the information we have. Okay. So what I want you to do is one of these would get full credit on a test and one of them would not. I want you to circle the one you think would get full credit on the test. Read the descriptions and then circle what you think. Okay? And no big deal if you get it wrong. You'll just erase it and circle the other one. So go ahead and do that. Again, guys, you should be reading this right here and deciding which one's a good description and which one's a poor description.
Which part do you circle? Do you just circle the thing?
Yeah, just circle, whatever. Yeah, just circle it. Mark it somehow. We're not moving on until everybody makes a decision here. What'd you pick here? The first one or the second one?
The first one.
Okay, why did you pick that?
Because it sounded a little more detailed.
It sounded more detailed? Okay. Alex?
I picked the first one.
Why?
Because of immediately after I read it said it started on the ground, and ground starts at 0.
Right.
So, and this one's already, it's not even at 0. So I already knew that was correct.
Okay. So his reasoning is that he knew this was good because it starts on 0. And it talks about that. And he says this one doesn't even start on 0. I agree with both of you. I don't necessarily agree with your reasoning, though. Okay? Because not everything's going to start at a value of 0.
I mean, it says start on the ground.
Okay, we're right. Okay, so here's what I like. If you picked this graph, good job. That's right. This one will get you full credit because they talk about some certain things. Now, I'm going to highlight a few things you need to be writing notes in. Okay? All right, so when it talks about, we'll talk about independent and dependent here in a minute. Okay? But it says the football starts on the ground. Yes, you need to talk about a starting point. Where is your graph starting? Over here? It just says the price increases. Does it talk about where it started at? No. Now, the problem here is they don't give you numbers, do they? So you can't say it starts at 10 or starts at 100. All you can say on something like this, because I'm going to ask you to do one here, is you just have to say it has a positive start value. Does that make sense? So you have to just be general, but you still have to talk about things. So the first thing we would have to talk about on this guy is he needs to talk about a start value. Okay? That needs to be done. Okay, so start value. That is a must. Has to be done. So you would just say that this guy started like at a positive number. Okay? So now let's read on. It says it gains altitude until it reaches a maximum height and then loses altitude until it falls to the ground. Okay? So it tells you what's happening. The football goes up and it comes back down. Now, do you have to use words like altitude? No. Okay? You just need to describe it. You can tell me how it goes up and then it comes back down or whatever. Okay? And here, this guy just talks about increases steadily, falls. Increases and falls. That's not a bad description for the middle, okay? But you could talk and be more specific here, okay? So on this guy right here versus this guy right here, which one of those, so if I look at line 1 and line 2, which one's steeper? Look at your picture if you can't see up here. Which one's the steeper of the two lines? Line 1 or 2? 1 or 2? 1. Line 1, right? So what does a steeper line mean? What's happening?
It goes straight up.
Well, okay, but what's happening in reference to this?
It's like rapidly increasing.
Okay, it's increasing fast, right? So this is increasing, but this guy's faster. Those are things you need to include. Okay? What about on the come down, on the parts where it's decreasing? Okay? So we decrease, it's kind of hard to tell a whole lot of information because the segments are so small there. Okay? But one of the things that they talk about, they don't talk about an endpoint here. Here, it says until it falls to the ground. So it tells you what's going to happen at the end, right? So on this guy, do they tell you what happens at the end? No. So what could we include here? I'm going to highlight here. What could we include here to make this good, talking about the finish value? So how could I finish up their description and make that better? What do you know about this value? Okay, let's backtrack. What do you know about the finish value in reference to the start value? Aida?
It just like drops instead of keep going up.
Okay, but what do you, if I look at this point here versus this point here, what do we know is true?
It's higher up.
It's higher, so it gained value, right? Okay, so you would talk about that. So when you talk about this stock finishes for whatever reason, at the day or whatever year, we don't really know what the time frame is, but whenever this stock stops, it finishes higher than when it started. That's something you need to include, okay? All right, so I want you to take a second here, okay? And I want you to write down a description for number 1. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do that. Write a description for number 1.
Question.
No, it hasn't, I don't care about the graph. I want it as a description. What description is better for the graph? That's what we were looking at, so words, okay? Okay, so get on there. What do you think's going on there? Okay, I know some of you are still working on your description, but we're going to go ahead and come together and talk about it real quick. Okay, first thing, you may not have done this yet, and that was okay. Independent variable. What's the independent variable here? Time. Okay, think about that for a second. Time. We have to have time. Time is a must. Time will always be independent. All right? So when you're looking here, if your option is time, it will always be independent. Because think about that. If we don't have time, we don't get older. We don't go to the next class. We don't go to practice tonight. Time makes everything happen for us. Okay? So then what would speed be called? Dependent. Okay? All right, so now talk about the start point. Where are we starting at? 0 miles per hour. So we are pulling out a driveway or whatever. Okay, so we start. What happens during this section?
It goes fast.
Well, okay, we're
Going fast.
accelerating, right? So if we're in a car, because the description says we're in a car, so we're going to go faster, we're going to accelerate. And then what happens here? Ooh, I like that. Stays at a constant speed. Okay, so on your description, take a look at it and change and make a couple notes if you need to. Did you talk about your start point, how you were starting at 0 miles per hour? Did you talk about increasing or accelerating your speed? Did you talk about going at a constant speed? That's what this is saying. So this is like you've pulled out of your driveway and now you're out on the road. Okay, now what does this last line right here, this blue line, what's that last line tell us?
It's stopping.
Okay, but it's not, it does come to a stop, but right here we're decreasing speed, right? And I like that he says rapidly because if I look here, see how that line's steeper? So it happened faster. So we slowed down a little quicker than when we started and we came to a complete stop. Okay, those are all things that you need to include on a description. Okay? All right, real quick, last thing here. They're going to ask you to do a little bit of sketching today. When you sketch, you really are just going to graph quadrant 1. We're not going to look at 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to graph quadrant 1. Okay, so the height of a baseball after it's hit. Would a baseball start on the ground if you're hitting it? No, so it would start somewhere like right here, right? And then it would go up, and then what's going to happen? It's going to come down. Does it say where it finishes? No, so if some of you bring it down to here, that's okay, because maybe someone caught it. If it comes all the way down to the ground, that would be fine too, because it doesn't specify. Okay, now you will label. This would be time, and this would be height. Okay, so that's what we're going to look at when they ask you to do a quick sketch. Okay? All right, and independent in this case will be the time, and dependent will be height. Okay? All right. Homework is online on Schoology. You need it. It's in your textbook, so you need to get it done tonight and bring it in tomorrow. I'm going to